Welcome to the Nordic Venture Show, your speed date with the hottest Nordic innovations and ventures. In this episode, our venture date is with Origin by Ocean, algae-based products for a healthier planet.
Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're here, you're probably looking to, really get to the core of interesting topics, maybe find those aha moments without wading through tons of info.
And that's exactly what we aim for. Today, we're tackling something pretty fascinating. It's where big environmental problems meet some really smart solutions.
We're talking about a company called Origin by Ocean. They're doing something quite unique, taking invasive algae, which is a huge headache, and transforming it.
Yeah, turning it into valuable, sustainable ingredients.
Wow.
Stuff that can go into everyday products.
Exactly. And the sources you pulled together are great. We've got news articles talking about the scale of this algae problem, info from their website explaining their approach, their products.
And also a look at their vision, where they want to go with this.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is basically to understand how Origin by Ocean is trying to solve these environmental issues by making new bio-based materials, alternatives to the usual stuff, which often isn't very sustainable.
Okay, so where should we start? The algae itself.
Yeah, let's get right into it. This problem of invasive algae. What's the main story there?
Well, the big one, especially for Origin by Ocean, is sargassum. You've probably seen pictures, these massive, huge floating mats of seaweed.
Oh, yeah, those images are striking,
Yeah.
stretching for miles, right? From the Gulf of Mexico across the Atlantic.
All the way to West Africa, yeah. It's an enormous amount of biomass.
And it's not just like messy, is it? These blooms cause real problems.
Oh, absolutely. Serious ecological impacts. For one, they can block sunlight, which is devastating for things like coral reefs below.
Reefs that are already struggling.
Exactly. And then when all that sargassum starts to decompose, it releases compounds. Hydrogen sulfide, for one, which can harm marine life, create dead zones. It's not good.
And the sheer amount of it is increasing.
Globally, yes. The volume of these invasive brown algae species is surging. So we urgently need ways to deal with it.
Okay, so sargassum is key, but you mentioned they're also looking at other types. Blue-green algae, some farmed types.
That's right. Things like blue-green algae and also responsibly farmed fucus. They seem to be exploring different sources, not just relying on sargassum alone.
Smart. Now, you mentioned hydrogen sulfide. That rotten egg smell people associate with seaweed on beaches, is that a concern with their products?
That's a really common question. So yes, decomposing sargassum does release hydrogen sulfide, but that typically happens after it's been washed ashore for a while, maybe 48 hours or so.
Okay.
The key thing Origin by Ocean does is harvest it before it reaches that advanced decomposition stage. So the hydrogen sulfide isn't really an issue in the raw material they collect or in the final ingredients.
Ah, okay. That's a crucial difference. What about other safety aspects? Seaweed can absorb things from the water, right? Like heavy metals, pesticides.
Another critical point. Yes, sargassum can accumulate substances like pesticides or heavy metals. Arsenic sometimes comes up.
Right.
But Origin by Ocean uses a specific biorefining process. It's actually designed to remove these pollutants during processing.
So it's part of the technology.
Exactly. They purify it. They're very clear that the final ingredients are safe and any pollutants removed are handled and disposed of properly, following all the safety rules and local regulations. It's a purification step, not just extraction.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a sophisticated approach. So we've got the problem, this massive amount of invasive algae. Let's talk about Origin by Ocean's solution. They call it a regenerative approach.
Yeah.
What does that mean in practice?
Well, the core idea is simple. Harvest the problem algae, turn it into useful ingredients for consumer goods. Pretty straightforward.
But the regenerative part.
That comes from the wider impact. It's not just using a waste stream. They argue they're actively cleaning the oceans by removing the algae. This also helps reduce emissions compared to making traditional, say, petrochemical-based materials.
Okay.
Plus, they're unlocking value from this massive, unused biomass and aiming to support local economies, maybe creating jobs for coastal communities who are often the ones dealing with the algae washing ashore.
So it's trying to create positive ripples in several areas, environmental, economic.
Exactly. A multi-pronged benefit.
And they have this patented biorefinery technology. What's special about that?
That's really the heart of their innovation. Think of it like a super efficient seaweed processing plant. Instead of just pulling out one thing, like older methods might,
Right.
their technology can extract multiple, up to 6 actually, different valuable ingredients all in one go, in one integrated process.
6 different products from the same batch of algae.
Yeah. They talk about using simple and selective chemistry, and they really focus on minimizing waste recycling chemicals, recycling water within the system. They even have this golden rule, they call it, to use absolute every part of the algae. Anything left over, the residuals, get repurposed too. Nothing wasted.
That's impressive, maximizing the value, like cracking the whole code of the seaweed at once.
Pretty much, yeah. Getting the most out of each harvest.
Okay, so what are these 6 ingredients? What do they do? And, where might we actually find them?
Right, so they have branded ingredients. First is OCEANTHIX, that's their sodium alginate.
Alginate? Okay, heard of
It's
it.
super versatile. It can form films, it affects texture, holds moisture that's a humectant, and it changes how liquids flow. A rheology modifier.
Applications?
Loads. Cosmetics, think skin hydration, forming protective layers. Food is a thickener, stabilizer, maybe even a vegan gelatin substitute.
Wow, okay.
And even packaging, potentially replacing some petrochemical resins or coatings with a natural alternative.
So my face cream, my dessert, maybe even the container it comes in, could potentially use this stuff.
That's the idea. Then there's OCEANBOOST. This is their fucoidan.
Fucoidan, what's that good for?
It's got antioxidant, anti-inflammatory properties. Good for skin hydration, too.
Yeah.
They actually see it as maybe a next-gen alternative to hyaluronic acid in cosmetics.
Oh, interesting. Like a sustainable alternative.
Exactly. And crucially, because it comes from sargassum, it's not competing with food sources, which can be an issue for some other cosmetic ingredients.
That's a big plus. What else is in their lineup?
Okay, next is Ocean Shield. That's mycosporine. Think UV booster and antioxidant.
UV booster. So for sunscreen.
Precisely. The idea is that using Ocean Shield could allow manufacturers to reduce the amount of traditional synthetic UV filters, some of which aren't great for the environment, not biodegradable.
Right, the reef-safe discussion. So this could lead to better sunscreens.
Potentially, yeah. More environmentally friendly options.
Yeah.
Then there's Ocean FX, which is fucoxanthin.
Fucoxanthin?
It's a pigment, but also an antioxidant and has nutraceutical uses. They position it as a sustainable swap for synthetic vitamins or antioxidants you often find in cosmetics, things usually derived from petrochemicals.
Okay.
They even say it has similar antioxidant power to synthetic astaxanthin, which you see in supplements.
It really seems like they're finding ocean-based answers for things we usually get from fossil fuels or farming. What about ocean syrupy? Sounds tasty.
Well, maybe not directly. Ocean syrupy is laminin. Its main uses seem to be as a binder and maybe even a biopesticide, so think agriculture.
Okay. Agriculture. And the last one, there were 6.
Right, the 6th is ocean residue. Just what it sounds like, what's left after they extract the main stuff.
But didn't you say they use everything?
Exactly. This isn't waste in the traditional sense. It's still valuable. It contains seaweed proteins, fatty acids, fibers, which can also be used, again, in cosmetics, maybe in packaging materials, or back into agriculture. It really closes the loop, that zero waste idea.
It does. It makes that concept very tangible. So this all sounds great, but is it actually in products yet? Can people buy things with these ingredients?
Yes, they're starting to appear. There are some cool examples. Marimekko, the design house, they've piloted using OCEANTHIX alginate instead of a synthetic thickener in their textile printing.
Oh, wow. Marimekko. Okay.
Yeah. And a Finnish skincare brand, No Mind Cosmetics, is using OCEANTHIX in their serums. Another Finnish company, Algae-Based, uses their alginate in sulfate-free cleaning products.
So it's moving from the lab to the shelf.
Definitely. These shows it's becoming real for consumers.
That's great to see. Okay, let's zoom out a bit. The bigger picture. What's Origin by Ocean's ultimate goal here? Their grand vision?
It's pretty ambitious. They talk about wanting to reclaim the oceans from pollution, restore them to health. They see the big planetary problems, biodiversity loss, our reliance on oil, unsustainable supply chains.
And they think this algae approach can help tackle those.
That's the connection they make, yes.
And they link it to the UN Sustainable Development Goals too, right? The SDGs?
Very explicitly. They tick off quite a few. SDG 3, good health by making safer chemicals. SDG 8, decent work and economic growth through creating coastal jobs.
Right.
SDG 12, responsible consumption and production with the whole circular low waste model. SDG 13, climate action. SDG 14, life below water, obviously, by cleaning up algae and helping ecosystems. And even SDG 17, partnerships, because they collaborate widely.
It really sounds like an integrated approach, tackling several big issues at once. And their core mission statement is pretty bold, isn't it? About the chemical industry.
Yeah, it really is. They basically want to make the chemical industry run on algae.
Wow.
creating ecological, decomposable, renewable alternatives to oil-based chemicals. They imagine a future where the basic building blocks for many products come from algae, not oil.
That's a huge shift. Do they have a roadmap for this? A timeline?
They do. They move from research in like 2020, 2022 into pilot phases. Right now, 2024, 2025, they call it pre-commercial production.
Meaning?
Smaller orders, refining processes. They're also planning and getting permits for their first full-scale industrial biorefinery. The aim is to start ramping up production in 2026, hit full scale by 2027.
And long term.
By 2030, they hope to have multiple refineries running in the EU and the Caribbean. They actually just launched a demo facility in Finland.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in Otaniemi. They say it's the first in Europe that can refine both alginate and fucoidan from sargassum. So, a big step.
That demo plant sounds like proof of concept in action. And underlying all this is that zero-waste circular economy thing.
Absolutely. It seems totally fundamental to how they operate. Get maximum value from the algae, find uses for everything. And, importantly, they also stress empowering local communities, the harvesters, the farmers.
Right, providing livelihoods.
Yeah, livelihoods and supporting ocean restoration efforts on the ground. It's all connected.
It really is a holistic strategy, looking at the environment, the economy, the community. Okay, so to kind of wrap up our deep dive on origin by ocean.
Well, we've seen how they're taking this major environmental problem, invasive algae like sargassum, and flipping the script. Seeing it not as waste, but as a resource.
A valuable, untapped resource.
Exactly. And using their specific biorefinery tech, they're creating this whole range of sustainable ingredients with potential uses everywhere: cosmetics, food, packaging, agriculture.
Yeah, for me, the real aha moment is that transformation. Taking something that's currently a huge nuisance, a blight on coastlines, and turning it into useful, high-performance materials that could genuinely contribute to a more sustainable way of making things.
It definitely makes you think, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
About other big environmental problems. Could some of them also hold hidden solutions if we just look differently?
Right, like what else is out there that we see as a negative but could be a resource?
Exactly. It prompts you, the listener, to consider the ocean's potential beyond just fish or transport, but as a source for next-generation materials. Think about the stuff you use every day. Could it one day come from algae instead of oil? Maybe sooner than we think.
It certainly shifts your perspective. If you want to dig deeper into Origin by Ocean, their website is definitely worth a look. And I saw they're a part of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation community too, which tells you more about their circular economy focus.
Good places to check out.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Hopefully that gave you some food for thought on algae, innovation, and cleaning up our oceans.
Thanks for listening to the Nordic Venture Show. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more stories of innovation from the Nordics.